Hey guys, Cody with CJC Off-Road. In wrapping up 2024, we have this killer Ram Tradesman build. In 2024, Ram has been notorious for offering some pretty hefty discounts on these trucks. So for those of you who are looking for a new diesel truck, I would say now is the time to strike if Ram is your choice, and this Tradesman build is no exception. This customer had a very specific build in mind when purchasing the truck, so that is why he went with the Tradesman package, because he knew for the amount of money he was saving on the front end of the build, he could then take that money and put it into the aftermarket parts that he had chosen. And that is why I think this is a killer build for us to wrap up 2024 with. Now jumping right on in, this is the Carli suspension 3.25 Pintop system, essentially with every upgrade possible, as well as the Thurin fabrication rear track bar kit. That's gonna allow this truck to run extremely fast in the high-speed off-road sections, yet still handle very well on-road and still work very well in low-speed technical rock-type terrains. So it's a very cool do-it-all suspension system. We have separate videos diving into all the different options, but essentially this customer, as I like to say, threw the catalog at it. It's got the torsion sway bar, the high and low stabilizers, the whole 3¼ inch system with the King 2.5 shocks. And then the rear, he went with the Thurin fabrication rear track bar. That's gonna help cut down on some of that rear wag that you do experience on the Ram 2500s. Once you've done that setup, we've personally tested this same combination down in Mexico, up in the rocks, etc. It works extremely well off-road. The high-speed sections you can do in ease. You'll be able to drive, essentially fire roads, logging roads, things like that with a cup of coffee in your hand, not worry about spilling it. Yet when you still get on the highway, it's gonna ride extremely comfortable as well. So, oftentimes people talk about, hey, you have to have performance in one area or the other. This system gets you both. This 3¼ inch system allows the customer to run a 37 by 1250 tire with no rubbing. That is thanks to these AEV wheels, which come in the proper positive offset, allowing that 37 by 1250 to fully clear, yet still giving the truck a more aggressive stance than stock. So it's a very simple combination, something you can purchase just simply off our website. No crazy trimming required, but it's gonna work very well in this situation. Now, moving over to the other options on this truck, and what really caught our eye as far as a very cool build to wrap up 2024 with, is actually some of the other options that he chose. For headlights, the Tradesman comes with a more basic package. That's where he opted for the Morimoto headlights and taillights. They're gonna give a more, dare I say, higher trim level look to the truck, right? So a lot of guys had their big complaints on some of the base models is that the manufacturers stick you with a more basic headlight, not quite as aesthetically pleasing. That's where the Morimoto setup comes in handy. It looks good in both the front and the rear of the truck. And again, for the cost savings of going with a Tradesman versus a Limited, it's pretty self-explanatory, the value there. Now, to add a little bit more lighting, he opted for the CJC Off-Road Tradesman fog kit. If you're familiar with the Ram Tradesman trucks, they come with block-off plates where the fog lights go. That's where our kit comes in. It utilizes Baja Designs components as well as OEM components and allows you to get the larger aftermarket LED fog light in there. With just 2 of those lights, I'd say you could hit 50 miles an hour on a dirt road and still have plenty of visibility in front of you. Wanting a little bit more light than just the fog lights, the customer opted for the Baja Designs linkable setup. It is going to be a very tight-fitting light setup that goes against the grille, uses all OEM holes, things like that, so there's no drilling, cutting required. You loosen the bumper, mount the light, tighten everything back up, and you have an extremely bright light. Again, we've run these on a lot of our personal trucks here. We still do as of right now. A lot of the guys in the office are using this, and we actually just did a very large run in the Nevada desert. These linkable lights are killer, put out a ton of light, and I think for the price point, they're an excellent bang for the buck. Now, as I stated, this customer had this kind of goal or build in mind. So when he ordered the truck, he went with the factory upfitter switches. The benefit of those is instead of running a bunch of relays, switches, things like that, we're actually able to connect the light bar to just an upfitter switch. So you see aux1 on the dashboard. He hits that, he has lights. There's no crazy wiring, there's no rat's nest, things like that. So if you are ordering a truck, I would encourage you to go with that route, especially if you're gonna be doing aftermarket lighting or similar. So while we had the bumper off the truck, we figured what better time than to put a complete winch package in there. We did a separate video on the Vice Designs hidden winch setup. It's been one of the most popular products that we've been carrying for 2024. It is a very sleek setup that allows you to run a worn winch in a place that actually no one thought was possible until Vice designed their bracketry. For the longest times, the Power Wagon gas engine owners were the only ones that were able to enjoy a simple, sleek winch setup that didn't require some gaudy push bar and things like that. However, thanks to Vice, we now have options for the 14 and up Ram 2500, 3500 trucks. This customer went with that package. While we're in there, we figured what better time than to put the CJC off-road intercooler guard in. So you're gonna delete that big plastic valance underneath the front of the truck and run a nice sleek package so he has more ground clearance. Everything's still protected, and it's just an overall killer setup that is very good looking and also very useful. Now, rounding out final front end protections, that Carli suspension differential guard. It is a very simple, affordable piece. I'd argue it's essentially a stocking stuffer that can be bolted to the front of your truck. It is going to protect that front differential, the only basically exposed part on the front of these trucks with that stamped steel cover. This is going to allow you to utilize the OEM cover, OEM sealing, all of that stuff, yet get a heavy duty guard in there. So instead of buying a $92,000 limited truck, this customer had a very utilitarian package in mind, and I'd say he executed it perfectly. You know, you have the Tradesman truck, which when ordered properly can get a lot of the current electric amenities, you know, the nicer dash or the nicer screens, things like that. But you can save a ton of money and not pay that markup that all the manufacturers are putting on these higher trim trucks. And you know, why opt for a more expensive suspension package when you're planning on changing it? Headlights, taillights, aftermarket lights, all that stuff. And you know, when you're gonna target a budget, I'd say this is pretty much perfect execution for dollars spent versus what the customer received in return. If you do have any questions, comment down below, shoot us an email, give us a call, we'll be happy to answer. And thanks you guys for watching in 2024, and we'll see you guys next year.